Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Factorio. We've got this big line set up in the middle of the going out into the wilderness, and today we're going to work on actually getting it doing something instead of just sort of being there. So the first thing I need to do is just refuel all these furnaces and things, just because I didn't do that for a bit at the end of last episode. Then we get a bit of science done as well, and we're starting to run out of science that we can do with just red science packs. Of course, there's not that much to start with, so it doesn't take very long to run through it. So running over to power generation, checking everything's fine there. Grab some more coal because we used it up refueling all of the furnaces, and I decided to stick another steam engine in just because we were a little bit close to sort of maximum power usage. Might as well plonk it in because we'll need it at some point. I mean, really, I could just set up the whole system now rather than just adding a new steam engine every time we need one. But whatever, I'll just do it like that. So we need to grab a ton more iron because we've got a lot more to make, particularly in terms of conveyor belts, because we've got the basic set up, the basic structure going on here, but we want to sort of flesh it out a bit more, get the whole thing in so that we can work around it, and we know where it's going to be. Get a bit more science done there. We're now on armor crafting, which means I think we've only got that and some like bullet to like firing speeds or whatever, I don't know, bullet damage research left to do. So I'm just extending these lines out a bit more, and I have to grab even more iron, just take all of it off the line as I go. And then there goes armor crafting as well, and we're on to bullet damage and so on and so forth, though I think they take a lot more science than the other ones that are just red, so that'll probably keep us going for a bit. So we'll get some underground belts going, because now we want to make our first bits of production on here, and they are of the two basic, well, not exactly basic. The basic things are iron and copper. The sort of the major intermediate products in Factorio, and that's gears and circuits, and that means that we'll be able to we'll have all the things we need to set up. I think red and green science. So what I'm doing here is siphoning off of the iron belts, though at the moment there's not actually anything on it, and then I'm sending underground belts down to the bottom two lines, and that's where the gears and the circuits are going to be. And the way it's going to work is that I'm going to have these two copper and two iron lines, and then below them will be a steel line and a plastic line. The plastic line will turn into an advanced circuit line, and then the line below that is gears and electronic circuits. So now I'm siphoning off of the copper belts, though I'm not fully sure about how I'm going to do it. I eventually decide that the way it's going to work is that once copper and iron go into production of gears and circuits, the belts will reduce to one of each, because that's sort of where the majority of the resources will go, and beyond there we won't be using it that much. So now we need to actually hook it up, because I've got all the assemblers set up and all of the inserters feeding in, so on and so forth. So we need to actually connect it up to the power system, which is quite a trek actually, and it's a bit annoying how far I have to run each time when I want to get to the production and then get back again. But I wanted to make sure that production was set up in a big open area where I could expand outwards as much as I needed to, because I'm not sure how big this is going to end up getting, but hopefully very big, because this was the whole point of this, to be able to go infinitely faster than my previous playthrough did. So anyway, we're getting the gears onto the line now, and then once they're going, I set up the way for the circuits to get onto the line, and I'm using a system that I discovered in the previous series of where you can sort of balance out what goes onto either side of the belt while not reducing how fast it can go. Of course, that's not so important when you're working with yellow belts, but one day it'll be needed, so I might as well set it up now. And then also evenly spaces things on either side, which is always nice. So anyway, going back over to the smelting area and whatever else this thing is, I find I need to upgrade the inserters that we've got going there to the fast ones to keep the iron flowing quick enough, which is good. That means we're getting a good supply of iron, and at the moment there's only a gear assembly and then me hoovering up all of the iron, so the more the better, because I'll just use it all in the end. Then make my way back over to the power generation area, grab some more coal because we've run out again, refueling all of the furnaces and so on and so forth. And then back we go, and it's annoying how that's a bit of a trek as well. We have to go around this lake that's here to get to the the coal, but that's just how I've set it up in the end, so you know. So anyway, you can see the iron's flowing through now and it's getting to the gear production, but at the moment, because only a quarter of it is actually getting to the gear production, it's not enough to get past that to the circuit production. So at the moment only gears are being produced, and I'll have to do something about that, I have to fix it. But it's not a big problem in the meantime because we don't need circuits for red signs. So it's time to set up the lab area so that we know where we're feeding our signs into. And I've just made 2 labs there for now, just to be on either side and sort of act as placeholders. And of course this will be extended down as far as I want, I suppose, in future, or as far as my factory can handle, however far that is. And then we can sort of work our way back from there to red signs and green signs and so on and so forth. So we get an assembler made because we need to set up red signs, of course, to start with, and we plonk it down there, nicely in line with everything. And like to have everything look neat with this particular design. And I have used this design before, but not on my series. It was just some other games that I played while I was doing the series. So anyway, we need 2 things to do the red signs, and you'll know about them already because we did them last episode, and that is gears and copper. So now we need to hook them up in this area, and seeing as I've decided to cut down to 1 copper belt and 1 iron belt, I just sort of take away that bit of the belt that I had there before, get it hooked up to the power grid, and it's pretty simple. They just go onto the same belt and then they both go into the assembler turns it into red signs, and then that goes over to the labs, and there you go, Bob's your uncle. And now we have some more permanent red signs set up. This whole thing here, which I'm now deconstructing, was all a temporary structure just to get some signs done while I'm working on other things. And of course we need the signs to be done so that I can actually work on these things, because I need to actually research them. So anyway, we've got that spare lab, and then I also built another one, so we've got a nice rounded 4 of them. Connect the belts up for that, connect the power up, and so on. And there we go. So we've got that set up, but the assembler isn't enough for it. Though I don't know this at this point. I have to see whether things back up or whatever. But anyway, working on it, I'll go to work on other things, and I can grab some more iron off the belt. And it is starting to build up now because I'm building less conveyor belts now that everything's sort of getting set up. It's more sort of the fine little bits rather than big long belts going from one end of my base to the other. So I've spotted now that we do need some more red signs production, so I quickly plonk down another assembler. And that's the brilliance of this particular design that I'm quite proud of for sort of coming up with, though plenty of people have come up with it before me. And you can just keep on extending it, which is a good thing. But anyway, we're going over to kill some biters now, because I'm not happy about how close this biter base is to my base, so I'm deciding to take it out. But it turns out I'm a bit less well prepared than I thought I was, so I have to go and grab a bunch of iron off the conveyor belts, all of it in fact, to start crafting tons and tons of ammo so that I can actually take this thing down, because in the end I barely did anything, and in fact it's healed at this point. So really I should have just got like tons and tons of ammo crafted before I went back there, but I decided to run back in pretty soon. So I get, I think, 50 ammo crafted, and then I'd run off and grab some more iron and things like that, make some more belts, and decide to refuel all of the furnaces again. The way I'm doing it, by the way, is I'm using, I think, Control click on it to fill them up, and that sends half of the stack in. And I think there is a button you can use that just fills it, but I forget what it is. It's probably Shift or something. I don't know. I always forget these things, so I just did whatever command I could remember. But anyway, it's time to run back in and take out this base, and it really does take a very long time to damage it, particularly in a minute when we actually run out of ammo. And you can see it's ticking down really fast there, and I start crafting a bunch more in my inventory because I realise we're going to need it. So I'm just shooting it and slowly making my way through its health, and biters keep running out that I have to stop and deal with. And then I it ends up being that I'm having to fire every magazine as I craft it, so there's gaps in between while I wait for it to be crafted. And then I'm also dealing with these biters that come along, and I find that you can actually save a bit of ammo if you let them run up to you, because you can hit them with the pickaxe, and that actually damages them instead of using the ammo that you have. So anyway, I have to run back and grab even more iron just to carry on crafting all the ammo that I need, and it's a bit annoying really, and I regret it in the end, because it was sort of a waste of time and resources and things, because the biter spawner is healing all the time and annoying things like that. But in the end, slowly but surely, I wear down the health, and it gets really annoying towards the end because I'm thinking, right, I can get it with one more magazine, but then another biter runs out and I have to deal with that, and the biter spawner heals in the meantime, and so on and so forth. And we're getting it slowly down. We even had some research done that increased our shooting speed while we were doing it, but of course shooting speed is irrelevant. But anyway, finally I managed to actually kill the thing. There we go, finally, and then harvest its alien artifacts. Won't be doing anything with those for like 20 episodes. Well, actually, no, it'll be less than that, I suppose. It'll be more like 15 or something, maybe less. And then run back and grab some more iron and everything. Now that the biter base is dealt with, it's going to be, well, there's no really nearby ones that we have to worry about, so that's nice. And also, there's my pollution cloud currently doesn't go anywhere near any of the bases, so that's particularly good. And hopefully things will stay that way long enough for me to actually start implementing solar power, and then maybe we won't have any problems with biters at all. That's always a hope to have. Anyway, I've set up some more iron production now, just to help sort of bolster things and get things moving a bit quicker, because at the moment it's still the case that circuit production isn't getting any iron, because the iron is it's being taken up by gears before it gets there. So we want to fix that as soon as possible, really. You can see that at the moment there's tons of copper everywhere, so I just decided to fill up on that, like 400 of it, and then I won't have to worry about copper for a while. And it's funny, really, because like copper's being produced at a third the speed that iron is, and yet it's there's piles of it everywhere that we don't have any use for, because the only thing we do with them is turn them into red signs and circuits, and we don't use that much for it, so it's not a problem at the moment. Eventually copper production will become a lot more important. But anyway, seeing as everything's running okay at the moment, it's time to work on green science, and of course we are running out of things we can research with red science. We're on bullet shooting speed 2. I think the only stuff left is shotgun firing speeds and things like that now, so it's quite important that we get on with it. So I'm working my way backwards, set up the assembler for green science first, look at what that needs, and then look at what the things it need, and then I can work out what we need to sort of siphon off and put together to make it all work. So we run out of iron once again, having to run and grab more of it off the belt, and I also decided to grab some gears and circuits just because it'll speed up how quickly I can craft things. And then we start setting up the assemblers that we're going to use, and I'm not 100% certain on the way to set this up. I start getting some underground belts to let things get past, and then I change my mind and do it a different way in a second. It takes me a while to change my mind, I think, because I'm working out what I need to siphon off, and then I realise I don't have enough room for it if I do it that way round, and it makes more sense to do it a different way anyway. So we get some underground belts set up. What we need is iron and gears on one belt, and both of the assemblers require those, and then circuits as well on one of them, because one of the assemblers needs that as well, I think the inserter one. So I just work out a nice way to set that up so that things are running still fairly fast, and we don't need too many inserters or anything like that to keep things moving or whatever. So I'm getting rid of these belts here because I changed my mind about how I was going to do the thing with iron and copper, so it's now a case that there's only one of each at that level. So then we get it all put together, and now it's all flowing in nicely, so we just need to set up the inserters, set up the power grid. I remember that for inserters you actually need a level 2 assembler to do it, so we set that up and that's all fine. And then we just need to put in the rest of all of the inserters and everything, work out the way we're going to set up the belts. And I changed my mind actually, because I'm trying to sort of come up with a nice space efficient way that doesn't look too ugly or messy or anything. So we get that sorted, get it all ready, connected, and then connected to the power grid, and off it goes, and it's all working fine. It looks like everything's going into green science, and we can watch a science pack being produced and then running over to the lab area, and there you go, we've got green science set up as well in only episode 2. I think it was episode 2 last series actually, so whatever, maybe it wasn't, I don't know. In the end the system was worse for that though, so I can say that we've set it up in a much more useful way this time round, so that's nice. So having a look at circuit production, we're still having some trouble with iron not getting there, though it's with me increasing the iron production, it's getting to a point where now some iron is getting past the gear production and going into circuits, so that's good. but it's probably not enough to be that much use. And I don't realise, but the circuit's backup is running down because it's going into inserters now. We now actually start to need circuits to some degree. So I'm just continuing to look at how things are running, and you can see that this belt, like the lower of the two belts, is starting to fill up now. And I also check the radar and things. And once this belt fills up, there will be more going on to the other belt, which will help to keep production running nicely there. We're getting more science done as well. We've got military 2 research now, so we can actually get the armor piercing ammo, the ammo I've been waiting for. And it was the reason that I didn't craft a bunch of the standard ammo earlier, because I wanted to try and get the armor piercing stuff first before we needed it. So, well, before we needed to craft any ammo, because I don't like the standard ammo. It just ends up clogging up chests and things later on. So I upgraded the inserters going into gear production, because we need to increase the production so that red signs can continue to run fine now that some of the gears are being siphoned off by green signs. So that should hopefully be running okay. And at the moment, circuits is still alright. I don't realise it's going to go wrong later on. So with the iron flow increase, that's hopefully going to get things moving a lot better. And then it's time to set up some guns, because of course we've got the armor piercing ammo now, so we can start actually crafting a bunch of it and putting it into things. So I set up some guns on the end of the line, and that should hopefully protect me from any biters that decide to run in, though at the moment they could easily get past them without any problem. So I just had a look at the labs, and I realised that we're actually the power level is fluctuating a bit. We need to refuel, and also I find that we need to refuel the furnaces as well. If our refuel doesn't make sense for power, so whatever, but we need to refuel the furnaces. So I just grab a bunch of coal for that, and then we also need to add in a new steam engine. Also have a quick check of the radar, well, the reason was to check if there was if the radars were still in use, still scanning new sectors, because if they weren't I might deconstruct one instead. But anyway, I add on this new steam engine, and I find that after the power level jumps up for a second, it jumps straight back down again, because the limiting factor now with this setup is the boilers rather than the steam engine. So adding in a 5th steam engine doesn't make any difference. So what we're going to have to do if we want more power is either add in more boilers or add in a new column. So I decided to do a new column, because that makes sort of the most sense. So we get another 5 boilers set up, and then we have to sort of sidestep the coal line around it. I sort of made a mistake with my setup there. Also, I didn't position the pump very well, so that we have to for this particular pump we need to put it in an awkward place to get it to match up, and annoyingly we actually run out of iron before we managed to do that. So I put the coal into the burner inserters anyway, and they can get all the boilers fueled, but we have to run over back to iron just to grab a bit so that we can make the last 2 pipes we need to connect things up, get some more signs done. And I'm trying to work out what to go for next. I end up going for advanced circuit stuff. And then I realised that actually that will require plastics, so we probably should research oil first so we can get that going, but whatever. So we've grabbed some more coal that we can run over and refuel all the furnaces with that, using the method that I'm beginning to suspect is slower than actually going into the menu of the furnace and plonking it in, because you have to keep going into your inventory and getting a new stack of coal and things like that, but whatever. I'll try and remember to look up the right key for it next time before I start playing again. So grab some more coal, because we used it all up refueling those, and I think there's still a little bit more that they need. Yep, there we go. There's some more to put into these steel ones, and then we need to refuel coal. No, not coal, copper, of course. I always say copper instead of coal and coal instead of copper. It's really annoying. It's just because they both begin with C. Weird word things like that, psychology and stuff. But anyway, we've got some more iron to look at, I suppose. I don't know where that sentence was going. So we've got the red and green sign set up, and we just need to make sure that it's all running nicely. And the thing is, we still have the problem with circuits not getting enough iron. And just as soon as they were doing that, I ended up upgrading the gears so that they took all the iron again. So I put a stack of iron in so that it can construct it anyway, and I end up grabbing some iron off the other line as well, meaning that the amount that going into gears is going to be reduced. So that was probably a bad idea, but gears are starting to build up now. So hopefully once they have built up, iron will start getting through to circuits again. Though of course we could just increase the amount of production going into into iron, because what we have is a placeholder. But anyway, we're coming to the end now, so that's it. So I shall say goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.